Alright, here we are again. Del Rivers Music Collection number 6. I thought I'd do something that was more locally based for today. There's a band that we're all familiar with in Rochester. They're kind of like the Beatles of Rochester, other than the Chesterfield Kings. It's a group called the Insiders. Now, the Insiders have a long story. I did one of those peak frame trees early on of how they were connected into the local music scene here. But, you know, they became Inside Out, which is Walt O'Brien. At the time, the other person in the Insiders, Jim Lampert, moved down south with his wife, but then he got divorced. He came back up and re-energized some of the Insiders stuff with a, brand new, like an old song that he turned into a 45. I'll show you that in a minute. So they're pretty well connected here in Rochester, and they come out with something every so often that's quite amazing. Well, let me start with the first single that they had. It was Can't by the Insiders. This is a reissued sleeve, or a new sleeve that they put on the old 45. It was Can't. Walt O'Brien is right, let's see if I can point to him, right there in the striped shirt. That's Walt. And you got Jim Lampert, who's the second one with the bass, I think, there. The late Bob Janik on guitar, the cool guy at the end here. And this, screwed up here. This way, it's Bob Janik. And Steve Loudon, who played drums with them, as well as Dave DeSpirito. And Steve Loudon is the guy right here with the drum, obviously. And the B-side of this single is by Jim Lampert, called You're My Baby, on Stomp Records. I guess that's what they switched to. The original is actually worth money, and it came out on, I think it was done at Dynamic Recording. I'm lucky enough to have one of the original ones. So the Insider's done at Dynamic Recording. Here's the original 45. There was no sleeve or anything. It was just try to focus in a little bit. And same thing, had You're My Baby on the B-side by Jim Lampert, done at Dynamic Recording. I hope I'm not being too loud again, but I am being too loud. Anyway, okay, I already did that one. There's a group in Rochester that does girl group stuff. They played in front of Brian Wilson at one time. They're called It's My Party. And they covered Can't. They did a version of Can't. Back with the Rolling Stones, I'd much rather be with the boys. It's My Party. It's kind of a hard to find CD single. This came out about late 90s sometime. That's really good. Here's another single by the Insiders. This is kind of like they took an old song and made a 45 out of it with the help of Jim Lampert. Here's the back with the band. The legendary Insiders, they call it. Oh, God, this focusing is terrible. It's Walt O'Brien with his striped shirt again. Right in the middle there. Then you got the Insiders, same thing. It was a single, Won't You Let Me, with Through My Door. I think Through My Door might be with Bob Janik singing, I guess. Alright, they got that one. And then sometime later, Walt O'Brien leaves the Insiders briefly for a couple projects, a couple things. Here he is with a group called the Swing Set, with You That I Want and Trying to Get You Out of My Mind. There was a combination of two bands, Doug Cox Davies from Luther and the BBBs, and Walt O'Brien from the Insiders, and a couple guys. Well, the drummer Dave Martin right at the end here. He's from New York City. He played in a few New York bands. And I believe, oh jeez, my mind's slipping. This fellow here plays with Walt today in the Inside Out. So they'll hang around each other, you know, for years and years. This is yeah, I think Doug Davies wrote both of these songs, but Walt O'Brien sings along with them. Good harmonies. Okay, and then not too much later, Jim Lampert. I don't know if Walt was involved with it, but he did the Christmas 45, which I showed off a little bit. Are You Ready for Christmas with the Luther and the BBBs. The Insiders did backup on that. I'm not sure if Walt's involved or not. But Walt ended up playing with the Chesterfield Kings. Here's a 45 of Baby Doll. There's Walt down in the corner there. Right there. Chesterfield Kings doing Baby Doll by Dee Dee Ramone. I guess he actually taught Dee Dee Ramone how to play certain parts. From when I talked to him about it. There's a B-side, Chesterfield Kings, I Cannot Find Her, the rare acoustic version. And Walt's down in the corner again, right there. Okay. And he appears on one Chesterfield Kings album. This is a great album. I love this album. It's Don't Open. I'm gonna move around, right? Don't Open Till Doomsday. There's Walt in the middle, next to Greg Prevost, who is part of the real Chesterfield Kings. And I guess Little Steven has got me, Andy at the end here, when my hand is on top of it. He's doing the Chesterfield Kings. I call them the Kings Light. Just kind of a promotional type thing with Andy Babiak. And, you know, so they split up into two different bands. I guess down the line, Greg Prevost might reform the Kings as an official type thing, but that's up in the air. It depends on what happens to these other Kings that have taken the name. The name Chesterfield Kings belongs to a cigarette company, so I don't know if if either one has the copyright. But on the back, here's the back of the Chesterfield Kings, Don't Open Till Doomsday. It's got a couple songs there. And Walt's right there on top. He was there for a little while. I think he toured with them. Played keyboards as well as guitar. And Walt is a pretty busy guy. He's done a lot of outside projects. Aside from that, It's My Part is using his songs. He did a CD with, unfortunately I lost the cover in a flood. If you can see, this is Billy North. This is an album by Billy North. I took it from WITR apparently, or they had it from there. There's Walt O'Brien's on that. And he's also on a producer of the Quatloos CD. The Enthralling Sounds of the Quatloos. A Mike Murray, Darren Bernessel band with Little Richard Waldorfer and a former Insider, Brian Goodman, playing the bass, I believe. It looks like he's playing bass. Normally a drummer, but he plays bass as well. Let's see, so I got those two. It's interesting. And he also, Walt O'Brien also helped out his buddy Jim Lampert. This is a promotional CD of Jim Lampert. When he came back to Rochester, he put together this with Walt and some other band members. So the Insiders is still hanging in there, you know. And Walt currently plays with this band called Nightfall. If I can get that right, Nightfall. They did a tribute to Dark Shadows. That's a really good CD. The Nightfall Trio. And this is Nightfall, but more shows the songwriting showcase of Lisa Loudon. Don't ask me to pronounce her middle name there. Perhaps I'm a Rain Cloud. And it's also got it's two insiders play on this. It's Steve Loudon, the old drummer, and Walt O'Brien. They both play on this Lisa Loudon CD. I think it's very much available. You have to check online. I guess you can still get it. This is like a, I don't know if it belongs to a record company or not. Steve and Lisa Loudon. They do it in their own studio, I believe. Well, that's it for Walt O'Brien and the Insiders. You won't be disappointed if you happen to find their stuff. The 45 of Cant is worth a lot of money, according to record guides and stuff like that, if you happen to find another copy. It's been around for a while, so it's hard to get. One last thing I'm going to show before I hang up here is a book that I picked up that I'm still trying to read or get into. Is the Beatles legend, an untold story of Mal Evans. There's Paul McCartney and Mal Evans. I can't get the stupid, it looks like a fisheye lens or something. But it's a good book to pick up. Untold story of Mal Evans. Kind of fills in the blanks of the Beatles back in the 70s and Badfinger. You know, stuff about Badfinger. Really cool stuff. Alright, I'm up to 11 minutes here, so I'm going to take off. And we'll see you with number 7 after I push this one out. Thanks.